Hey YouTubers, it's Charlie. So Marvel finally revealed what was up with the Captain America Hail Hydra WTF. So this is going to be an explainer for that. Just careful for spoilers for Captain America number 1 and 2, the new Steve Rogers title. They finally revealed what's going on with that WTF Hail Hydra end tag at the end of Captain America Steve Rogers number 1. So backstory. For those that don't understand what's going on, Steve Rogers has been de-aged by a fragment of the Cosmic Cube called Kobik. So Kobik is part of this bigger plot line called Pleasant Hill, which is like this artificial prison that Maria Hill created with S.H.I.E.L.D. to trap supervillains and give them new identities, new memories. It's basically a Pleasantville, Stepford Wives situation for Marvel's supervillains. So the fragment of the Cosmic Cube that they were using to do this, called Kobik, gains a certain level of sentience, and things start to go crazy. The supervillains escape, and eventually the older Steve Rogers, who had been aged up a long time ago in the comics, gets de-aged again. But because Sam Wilson is currently wearing the mantle of Captain America, he has the shield, he has the title. This new Steve Rogers comic is called Captain America Steve Rogers, instead of just being called Captain America. So Marvel gave us back a young Steve Rogers without completely throwing the Sam Wilson Captain America under the bus. But at the end of the first issue, we learn that Steve Rogers has secretly been a Hydra sleeper agent this whole time. So everybody went crazy, like the internet went nuts. War veterans, people who have been reading Captain America since like the 1950s were like, how dare you? The people that actually make the comic, like the writer, the artist, were getting death threats. It got crazy. So everyone's like, what's the twist? There's very clearly a twist. Marvel is a Disney-owned company. There's no way they're going to turn Captain America into something that looks like a Nazi without having some twist. And so I was a little surprised to find out that they reveal what the twist is in the second issue, but you can understand how they probably didn't want to make people wait too long to find out. So just careful for spoilers for what that is. I'm going to explain what's going on. So here we go. The Red Skull used the Cosmic Cube Kobik to implant false memories inside Steve Rogers' head. So this has been his plan the whole time. Makes total sense the Red Skull would try to do something like this. A lot of people will actually decry it now as formulaic, like, oh, false memories, what kind of an explanation is that? But when you know there's going to be a twist, because just the premise was just so ridiculous, Steve Rogers, Hydra agent, bullcrap. I'm gonna call bullshit on that. So Steve Rogers is still going to try and dismantle the rest of Hydra throughout this series, but obviously now part of it is regaining the true memories, learning that he actually does have false memories implanted in him, learning how he's going to deal with that. They actually did a pretty convincing job with those false memories. Like his mother is approached by a Hydra recruitment agent when he's a little kid. Turns out his father was abusive, but now when you go back and read that first issue and you see those memories that he had, that all seems like bullshit because they're supposedly false. But the other thing that's going on now is that we have Civil War 2. That's the big macro arc that's going across all these big titles. So it looks like we're not going to see this version of Steve Rogers cross over with that, like at the tie-in issue for a couple more weeks. But he appeared in the very first Civil War 2 issue where they meet the Inhuman that can see the future and it leads to a couple notable deaths. I'll put a link to my Civil War videos in the comments just without spoiling it in case you haven't read that yet. But that was published weeks ago and we meet Steve Rogers, who is young. He talks to Tony. They have a really funny exchange that's an Easter egg for the first Civil War in the comics where he's like, I'm not going to argue with you, Cap. We've been down that road. Did not end well for us the first time. So then right after that, they released that Captain America Steve Rogers Hail Hydra moment, and everyone's like, hey, wait a minute, does that mean that he was Hydra when he was talking to Tony Stark and partying with the Avengers here? Like, what the hell is going on with this timeline? So it seems like this is all going on while Civil War 2 is going on. But I think that'll be a little clearer in a couple more weeks when we get the tie-in issue. The rest of this big arc, Steve Rogers, False Memories, Hail Hydra, is a relatively self-contained story. But let me know what you guys think about the twist. You know, Red Skull implanted false memories in Steve Rogers to make him think that he was Hydra. So just to clarify, what that means is that in this moment when he's saying Hail Hydra, he believes it because all those memories, he doesn't know they're false, so he believes that he is Hydra, even though he is not. So of course he's going to learn the truth of things, beat the shit out of the Red Skull, and he'll be the Steve Rogers that we remember. So the other big thing about this isn't so much the twist. I mean, that's a big deal too. Steve Rogers, Hail Hydra, explaining how that works. The other big thing has been the way people have reacted to this story. So there were a lot of people today when they revealed what the big twist was that were like, Marvel totally backtracked. They saw this public backlash against Steve Rogers, Hail Hydra, and they walked it back super fast. Not understanding, I guess these people didn't understand that it can take up to like 6 months to make a single issue of a comic book. So this Steve Rogers reveal was planned months and months ago before we ever saw that Hail Hydra moment. So the actual people making this comic book title had planned to make this false memories reveal months and months ago. Like, making a comic book is very similar to making an episode of TV in that it takes about 6 months from start to finish before we actually see it. So like, they start writing it, and then 6 months later, it finally lands on our television. It's kind of the same deal with comic books because they take so long to write, then to illustrate, then to print, to ship. You get the idea. But right now, my favorite ongoing comic book storylines, the ones that I'm following really closely, are Civil War II, of course, Invincible Iron Man, and then DC's Rebirth. I started reading Flash Rebirth too, but that's only an issue 1, like that just started. So because a lot of stuff is on break this summer, if you're looking for something new, then check out some of the Civil War titles, check out some of the DC Rebirth titles. Both of them are really good. I'm not reading every single tie-in, but some of them are pretty cool. Usually it's better if you just pick a character that you really like and just read that character. But if there's any specific comic book videos that you guys want me to do this summer, just let me know in the comments. But I will be doing DC Rebirth, Civil War videos for the rest of the summer. So be sure to subscribe to get that. Tomorrow I'll be doing a Game of Thrones Q&A for the rest of the season. There'll be some more comic book stuff going on. So plenty of really cool stuff happening right now. So while you guys wait for me to post that video, you can click here to learn all about what's going on with DC at Comic-Con. Marvel hasn't really announced their Comic-Con lineup yet, but DC has. And you can click here for all my Marvel Civil War comic book videos. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. Let's high five. I'll see you guys tonight.